Ah, magnificent.
He was consumed by evil.
For as long as you can remember, you've struggled against your own black heart.
Shoot through him.
Every man pays a price for redemption.
I'm not looking for redemption.
Hello, this is Colonel Braxton Beauregard Burlique the Fifth, adventurer, treasure hunter, swashbuckler extraordinaire, at your service, madam. Well, today's talk is on something that's been in the news quite a bit. I normally don't do topics like this, but I've decided I'm going to do it here. I'm doing my review of this Alec Baldwin situation, as I'm sure you're all aware of. The boy was producing a Western movie called Rust out there, I think in Arizona, and well, there was a lot of controversy over this. He was practicing a scene, and the gun, it was one of them Colt, revolvers, with the rolling cylinder, and you got to cock the hammer back on the gun. Well, long story short, he was supposedly rehearsing a scene, and the gun discharged in his hand. He discharged the gun. No matter what the boy says, he discharged it, and well, there was a live round in this here gun. And one misnomer they had was they're calling it a prop gun, which is pure hogwash. A prop gun sounds like it was some gun that wouldn't fire, like it's made of rubber or something. That was not true at all. That was a real firearm. I understand it was an actual antique Colt revolver with a .45 caliber, bullet in there, and he discharged the bullet, and his head of his filming, the filmographer, I guess they would call that, she was killed, and I think the director, he was hit, I believe, in the shoulder. And Baldwin has just been going all over the place, making statements, trying to basically build the public sympathy. I can't even pronounce the name, so I think I better have a drink here. The word I believe I'm trying to say is sympathy. The boy, he's going out here and he's making, if he was smart, he has to realize he's going to end up in a multitude of civil lawsuits, but it seems to me that he's trying to persuade maybe the district attorney out there not to file charges, which they have not done as of yet. And I would submit to you, if I were out there producing a film and I'm play acting, I'm doing something, and I shot a gal and killed her and wounded another fella, I submit to you, I'd be in the hoosegow right now. I would, I'd be facing manslaughter charges, but he is not. I mean, he's like the golden boy, and I'm going to make a disclaimer. I never liked the boy. I had the misfortune of running into him years ago in New York. I was staying at a hotel, and this is where, the time when he had married Kim Basinger, and frankly speaking, I think he's an asshole. I don't like the boy at all. He's an arrogant son of a bitch. Don't get me wrong. I think his acting is very good. I liked him in that Glengarry Ross movie. He's giving that speech about selling. He was playing an asshole. That's why he probably did it so well, because he is an asshole. But I saw him, and he's berating and giving, Kim Basinger, who at that time was his wife, and had her nearly on the brink of tears, and I tried to, step in and try to get this boy to behave, and he started berating the old colonel, and yeah, he's an asshole. And my thought then, as it is now, is that when I heard that Kim Basinger had married him, finally later, of course, I knew she would wise up and divorce him. I thought then that what a terrible waste of a beautiful woman, and wasted on this creep. Now, don't get me wrong, his brother Stephen, I've met him a couple times. He's a good boy. He's not the best looking fella, but neither is this boy either. But this guy back in the day, he was better looking than maybe some of the other Baldwins. But he certainly has hit the ugly wall himself. He's kind of really aged and creepy looking these days. He certainly didn't age well. But anyway, part of this will be the coup de grace, the summit, the cherry on the top. There's been a lot of different things he's done in the media, but this here, let me get this back. This here George Stephanopoulos ABC News video, this is probably the most in-depth, and it's certainly a friendly network. Look at this ABC number, Baldwin ABC. How about that? They're real fans of Baldwin. He got himself a interviewer that would give him a soft pitch. Now, I'll be honest with you, I've not viewed this interview. I've heard about it and different things he said, but I've never viewed it. So I thought, well, you know what? I'll kill two birds with one stone, and I'll do the interview. Although, Stephanopoulos, he'd be very sympathetic to this boy. He's a big, Baldwin fan, I believe. Both of them are very liberal people there. Though if I was going, number one, I would have advised him never to give an interview. You don't go on record. They could use this against you in court. But I think he's trying to kind of convince the DA that he's a nice guy and it wasn't his fault. But I think like that Prince Andrew interview, I think it's probably going to blow up in his face. But anyway, let's start the interview. Oh, there he is.
Alec, thank you for doing this. You haven't said much in public since that tragic accident.
Oh, he said a lot.
Well, I think that there's a criminal investigation.
Yes, there is. And you're the center of it, boy.
There's all kinds of civil litigation, and I felt there were a number of misconceptions. Most of it from sources I really wouldn't concern myself about, but a couple that I did concern myself about, where there were these authoritative statements about this is what happened. The sheriff's
Now he's going to tell us the real story, isn't it? But anyway, let him continue.
department hasn't even released a report to the DA yet. The reason I wanted to sit down with you is because
yeah, that report has been issued because he wants to get the interview and to try to influence that.
I feel like I can't wait for that process to end in February, March. I mean, I'm not asking them to speed it up for my benefit. That's ridiculous. But I am saying that they're going to do what they need to do, and I wanted to come to talk to you to say that I would go to any lengths to undo what happened. I would go to any lengths to undo what happened.
Yeah, but you can't, son. You were careless. You should have checked the damn gun yourself. But anyway, let's continue.
I think the big question, and the one you must have asked yourself 1,000 times, how could this have happened?
Well, there's two things I want to say about that. One is that when I talk about this, my concern is that I don't sound like I'm the victim. Because there is a victim. There's a woman who died. And my friend got shot. He's my friend. And she was a new friend. I met her and we worked together on the...
Yeah, he met her. I think he met her like on this film. New friend, I think in other prior things, he was acting like she was a long time friend. But, he plays to his audience. He's a professional actor.
Some of the mapping out of what we're going to do on the film, which, in the movie terms, if you go make a movie with Scorsese, you and the DP don't sit down and they solicit your ideas of how to make the film. You know what I mean? In the case of Helena, we sat down collaboratively and talked a lot about what we wanted to do in that precious amount of time we had. But I want to make sure that I don't come across like I'm the victim, because we have two victims here.
Well, you have come across like you're the victim. You're going, oh, it wasn't my fault, and this, that. And then when I understand this interview, he made some outrageous statements about, about that he wasn't responsible. Be a man, take responsibility. But this boy, he will never take responsibility.
And the second thing is that all of what happened on that day leading up to this event was precipitated on one idea, and that is that Helena and I had something profound in common. And that is we both assumed the gun was empty. Other than those, dummy...
Listen, son, you never assume anything. When you assume, you make an ass out of you and me. That's what happens when you assume, son. I'm gonna, there's comments I could make on this, but ultimately, he was a producer. He had responsibility. Plus, he had the damn gun. And it's not like that he never, acted in a film where he was using a gun. He's acted in numerous films. He's handled a multitude of weaponry, and common sense will dictate. And I'll tell you what, I know this. If I was on a movie set, even if I didn't have the gun, I'd go over and check the damn gun, because I don't trust any of these son of a bitches. Look at that poor woman killed, and this asshole, he walks away clean, and he's doing an interview with George Stephanopoulos. But anyway, let's continue.
I want to get into more detail on the day in a minute, but let's take a step back. What was it that drew you to this project in the first place, to Rust?
I'd worked on a project with Joel before.
Joel Susan.
Right. He did this movie Crown Vic that I produced, and Joel and I stayed in touch. We're friends, and I loved Rust. He said, I want to send you this. And I read it, and I said, I love it. I love it.
Rust, a low-budget Western, tells the story of an aging outlaw on the run with his young grandson.
But that's just the thing, a low budget. And if other news reports we have seen, all his stuff is low budget. And I understand there was a lot of disputes with the crew on this film, that he was so damn cheap. He was making them drive all the way back to Los Angeles while he's staying at some plush hotel out there. And a lot of problems with that. It's so funny. He's like a typical liberal. He's willing to spend everybody else's money, but when it comes out of his pocket, he's pretty damn tight. And he's of course he wants to wring every dollar out for himself, and that's what he tried to do with this. And no pun intended, in a way, it blew up in his face. But anyway, let's continue on here. Story of this here film.
Baldwin, the film's star, is also one of the producers.
Very excited, very, very, so excited that we finally got this made, because every independent film has many false starts. And when it finally goes, and you feel like a plane, and when you finally get some lift under your wings, it's very, very gratifying. I am a purely creative producer. My authorities as a producer are casting and script, which are actually made.
Oh, you see how he's trying to distance himself. Listen, if he was just a specialty producer, he would be known as, say, an associate producer. I have a little bit of experience in the show business, and I've seen this boy over the years. But when you're the producer, he's the producer. That means you're the general. You're in charge of this enterprise, and now he's trying to say, well, just the scripts and the actors. See how it's just like he's like those Nazis at Nuremberg. Well, I was just following orders. That wasn't my responsibility. So let's let the boy continue.
Married to the role of being a lead actor in a film.
So you're not the kind of producer who's looking at the line item of each budget?
No.
Oh, bull. Bull. That's bull. I bet you this boy, if he's a producer, he probably had some money in this thing. He's not looking at the cost. Oh, being a producer is looking. In fact, that's probably the number one thing that a producer does, is look at the costs.
Two types of producers who are really in charge of production: people that raise the money, and the people who spend the money. My consultations or approvals will.
Listen, he went around. He was getting money. Well, Alec Baldwin, big movie star, and he had a financial interest in this film, and he went around raising the money. He's acting like I'm an artist. I had nothing to do with it. But anyway, let's continue.
Completely about casting and about the script. I don't hire anybody in the crew. I don't.
Not even the cinematographer, no one.
No, but he will apprise me of what he's doing. And he'll say to me, I got Helena Hutchins to be the DP. I said, how do you feel about that? Are you excited? I'm very excited. She's wonderful.
What did you know about Helena Hutchins before she started working on this?
I knew nothing about her until Joel said to me, I got her. She was fantastic.
Helena Hutchins, the talented cinematographer praised by many in the industry,
That poor gal.
was a trailblazer in the field historically dominated by men.
Make sure we don't see people walking around like what.
Ready? Action. The Ukrainian-born cinematographer quickly gelled with Baldwin.
The people who watched The Daily said that her work was beautiful. She was someone who was loved by everyone who worked with and liked by everyone who worked with and admired.
Now, I'm not going to say anything on this. Maybe those are some genuine tears of grief. I don't know. Either he's, upset what happened about that gal or what the situation he finds himself in. But I'm not going to make any comment on that. You be the judge of that.
I'm sorry. But admired by everybody who worked with her.
Rust's 21-day production began filming on October 6th at the Bonanza Creek Ranch, just outside Santa Fe, New Mexico. The ranch has long been a favorite location for filming westerns.
We need a place to lay low.
Things have a way of escalating out here in the West, but one thing leading to another.
The day that I flew there, they'd been shooting for a week already. I come the following week on the 11th. That night of the 11th, I had dinner with Helena and Joel. And we talked about some of the compositions I was thinking of to...
That was the first time you met?
First time I met Helena, yeah.
What was your first impression?
When I met her, I knew she had that spark. I knew she had that flint to her, that she was going to get that day's work done and get the shots that she wanted.
Well, unfortunately, Alec, you took the spark out of her, but anyway, we'll continue.
She was very focused.
She had a vision for
She
the film?
was very focused. We had a discussion about compositions of shots in which you were shooting these beautiful tableaus of the West. She had that intensity. Every day you went to work, she would say, "Good morning, how are you? How was your evening?" Boom, it was small talk, go. We weren't going to hang out and chit-chat or whatever. She knew that the clock was the enemy, and we have to move forward.
Once on set, Baldwin posts this video.
I want to say, I look at myself in the reflection of this, and I'm really
Look at him. Doesn't he look like an absolute bum? And he's posting this on his Instagram account during the filming of this production of this Rust movie.
appalled. It's appalling. But we're here shooting the film to start tomorrow, and no, I'm not playing Santa Claus. On the 12th, I had a safety demonstration with Hannah Reed, the armor.
24-year-old Hannah Gutierrez Reed, seen here in...
Honestly, though, I mean, I will say this. In defense of Baldwin, although, why would you hire somebody like that? Some gal, I think she's 24 years old. Her daddy was a veteran armor on these here movies, but I have to tell you, I wouldn't have hired her. I think she was a bit of a greenhorn, but I don't know. The facts will show whether, she was at fault. I think there might be some culpability on her part, but I think the bigger part of it goes on Baldwin. But, that all the facts aren't out on this yet, but we'll let them continue.
Photos by the DailyMail.com, was hired as the film's armorer, in charge of all weapons on set. The daughter of a famous Hollywood armorer, Rust was only her second film in this role. She spoke to the Voices of the West podcast about working as lead armorer for her first film before Rust.
I was really nervous about it at first, and I almost didn't take the job because I wasn't sure if I was ready, but doing it, it went really smoothly.
We spent an hour and a half shooting the pistol. Her giving me all her safety instructions.
Did you think she was up to the job?
I assumed because she was there and she was hired, she was up for the job.
And nothing she did raised any red flags with you?
No.
Yeah, that's it. How can he say he wasn't responsible? Listen, Baldwin's a pretty bossy, bullying type of guy. I find that hard to believe. He had no hand in the hiring of the people involved in this film production. But let's continue on.
This training course you do, what did she tell you?
She say things like, remember, this is a blank round, so you have to create the discharge yourself because there's no projectile. So if you shot the gun, you go bang. When we roll the camera, you got to go bang and have the gun snap back. You have to create that. She would give you little tips about firing, and she'd say to you, when we're done, point the gun down. When we're done, you give the gun to me or to Halls, only those two people.
Dave Halls was Rust's assistant director, also known as the first AD. Seen here in this IMDb photo, he was responsible for keeping the production on schedule.
Sometimes we would be on a set that was a very, very cramped set, and they wanted people in that room on an as-needed basis. But if I'm holding the gun and they say cut, I then hand the gun to Halls if she's not there.
Yeah, why Halls, not Hannah? Some people have said that only the armorer should be handling it.
No. That's inaccurate. Meaning in the protocols of the business, meaning Hannah would to hand me the gun 99% of the time. No, whatever, the preponderance of the time. But when we would say cut, if Hannah was away from the set, I would hand Halls the gun.
Hannah Gutierrez-Reed had a dual role on set, armorer, and she was also the assistant prop master for the film. One of the things her attorney has said is that she was hired for 2 positions on the film and therefore was stretched in an inappropriate way. Did she raise any of those concerns with you?
No, I assume that everyone who's shooting a lower budget film is stretched, myself included.
That's the key right there. A lower budget film, you assume they're stretched because you're cutting corners, son. You're trying to make more out of less. And, you should have known better, son. You mentioned you gave that gal, she was prop master and armor. She had the 2 positions there. Well, prop master is a hell of a lot of work just alone because as a prop master, you're handling the costumes, the equipment, everything that appears on film. That's a big job. We should have had a separate person as the armor on that. But anyway, let's continue. But that's what you just said, son. You assumed it's stretched.
And I got no complaints from her or the prop department. I'm not sitting there when I'm getting dressed and ready to go do a scene saying, oh my God, the prop woman seemed very harried today. I didn't get a sense of that from any of the people on the film. The first time I heard that there was any problem with anybody in the crew of the film was when Luber said, well, we have some issues here.
Lane Looper, the first camera assistant, would email production managers a resignation letter later that night, citing safety concerns. Quote, during the filming of gunfights on this job, things are often played very fast and loose. So far, there have been 2 accidental weapons discharges.
Oh my God.
He also wrote about concerns about reasonable rest and housing for local crew with long commutes to the set.
Look, isn't that something? He was complaining about how reckless they are with these firearms, and look at this. 52 miles from the set, the housing, they basically told him to go home, and driving at night after a full, like say, a 12-hour day, and then you got to drive all the way back, which you see there, he's saying additional 2 hours. Baldwin knew all about this, but let's see what the boy has to say about this.
When he quit, now, the day before that happened, we wrapped. And he came up to me and he said, thank you for the position you've taken on behalf of IATSE and the union on social media. I said, my pleasure.
This photo, posted by Helena, showed the cast and crew in solidarity with IATSE, the International Alliance of Theatrical Stage Employees, which had been on the verge of a strike. And Alec posted this on Instagram.
And I want to say to the people in IATSE, do what you need to do. You want to go on strike? Go on strike. Because I'll tell you something about the executives. They don't give a about you. He said, because
yeah, well, neither do you, Alec. Neither do you.
I said, such as. And he said, my men need a better hotel room. There was no mention of safety issues.
He didn't say anything about the accidental discharges on set?
He didn't say anything about anything. He goes, my men need better hotel rooms. I said, well, we're leaving, we're wrapping. Will you be here tomorrow? He said, yes. Because what I was about to do, which I've done on any number of films and TV projects was to give more of my salary back to the production.
I would like to really see that. I would like to see that. And he said the executives. Well, he is an executive. He's a producer. He's one of the suits. But you know what? When this goes to trial, whether it's going to be a criminal case, certainly there'll be a number of civil cases. We're going to find out the veracity of his claims about, I was willing to give the money. Why didn't you have it originally, son? Where do you think these people are going to be staying? But anyway, let's continue.
Pay for X. And I was about to say to him, let me know what it would be to B&B you guys in a house that's closer to how we can address your problem. I will be happy to contribute to that. The next day they were gone.
So you had no sense from anyone on the set that people had been stretched to the point where safety was compromised?
No. I never heard one word about that. No.
Russ produced.
You see, why didn't Stephanopoulos ask him whether in fact there were two accidental discharges on the set? He didn't ask that question. Why? Because he's throwing the softball pitches to his buddy Alec Baldwin. I'm sorry there. A little burp. I've been drinking a little too much here tonight. But anyway, he didn't ask the hard questions, all softball puff piece here.
Producers told ABC News Mr. Looper's allegations around budget and safety are patently false, which is not surprising, considering his job was to be a camera operator, and he had absolutely nothing to do with or knowledge of safety protocols or budgets. Safety is always the #1 priority on our films.
When people say cutting costs, I don't see this with any judgment or any cynicism. Spielberg wants to save money. Tom Cruise wants to save money.
Yeah, but they never had anybody killed on their set.
Everybody who makes movies has a responsibility not to be reckless and careless with the money that you're given. You know, those are men who make movies that cost $205.
Now, don't get me wrong, okay? You had the Cleopatra movie from 1962, 63. Well, that nearly bankrupted, the ones. What studio was that? Who was that? Was that Columbia? Anyway, the studio that had that, it nearly. Don't get me wrong. You can't go crazy with the money, but you don't get the crew hotel rooms. You have 2 accidents with these here firearms, and it just seems that everything was done on the cheap on this. But anyway, let's continue.
$1 million. And I'm making movies that cost $5 million or
The
thereabouts.
question, though, is were costs being cut at the expense of safety and security?
Right. In my opinion, no, because I did not.
Well, the results speak for themselves there, boy. But let them continue.
Observe any safety or security issues at all in the time I was there.
Thursday, October 21st, Baldwin posts a photo of himself in costume on Instagram. Back to in-person at the office. Blimey, it's exhausting. That morning, Looper and 6 other crew members walked off the set. Filming continued with a replacement camera crew.
Yeah, what they don't say, and I don't know if this is true or not, but the other crew, I understand, were not union members. But you know what? I can't verify that. But the things will, instead of Alec calling these boys up and saying, hey, what's the problem? Well, how can I make this good? He just goes out and gets another crew.
Scene 118 in the church was slated for after lunch.
Everybody there was having a positive experience. People who are watching the show, people who are back home, you have no idea how unique an environment a motion picture set is. It's there's an instant familiarity. The amount of care, these are people who are professionals who have really good jobs in a field they love. And I looked at all these people and I see how hard they work. They're so hard-working, and they're so...
Well, isn't this some great acting here? This is so great. Let's continue. I don't want to interrupt his performance, but anyway.
So conscientious, and you're around people, and you're part of one of the great collaborative processes in the world, movie making. Everyone moving like a watch to get everything done, and when you I don't make that many movies anymore, because movie making demanded that I travel And I didn't want to leave my family. All these movies I made, I stayed home. I didn't want to go. If I went away, I went away for a week. To leave my family for 4 weeks and go shoot this movie, that was a big deal.
Oh, but yeah, but you're making money, so don't, you got to pay for the mansion and the wife who pretends that she's from Spain. I mean, you got to make a few dollars, so, don't be, that you're such a, you're above money.
And I'm sitting on this pew, and so help me God, I sat on that pew right before they called lunch, and I said, this movie has made me love making movies again.
Well, there is no business like show business, but, that's such a very, what can I say, a very generic thing he's saying there. But let's let him continue.
Because I used to love to make movies. I did.
Well, now he's crying because now, honestly, who's going to want to back a movie that he's trying to produce? He's going to be so sunk in lawsuits. I mean, he can try to use his corporations and such, but, this is a personal thing he did. I think they could sue the boy personally. And they're going to sue the hell out of this boy. That's why he's crying.
I worked with people once. I was going to do the movie The Edge. And they called me and said they got Tony Hopkins to do the film. What do you make of it?
Yeah, looking for you here.
And I started sobbing. I just started sobbing because I thought, oh God, I'm going to have a chance to work with this guy. Any chance you can go easy on me? When they cast me in It's Complicated with Meryl, I thought, I'm going to get to go make a movie with her.
Yes, he's crying because he's not going to have that opportunity anymore.
Sorry.
Here's a guy who's a bully all his life, and now when he's going to get a dose of his own medicine, now he's going to karma's come back on him. He's crying. He's so emotional and touchy.
People, they have their dreams. No matter how old you are, you have your dreams of people you want to work with. And this movie made me love making movies again. I really thought we were onto something.
Next.
She goes down. I thought to myself, did she faint?
Well, that's going to be the next part. This is part one of his interview. I'm going to film another piece on that. That'll be a separate video, but we'll just kind of see their end cap on this. Yeah, I guess that's it. That's it. So anyway, that was part one of Stephanopoulos' interview with this Alec Baldwin. And, I threw my 2 cents worth in. Whether you agree or disagree with me, well, that's your opinion. That's your right. So anyway, this is Colonel Braxton Beauregard Burlique the Fifth. Adventure, treasure hunter, swashbuckler extraordinaire. At your service, madam. Good night, goodbye, and come back, y'all.